Shout out to everybody who's doing dry January or taking a break from alcohol this year. This is a list of bands and artists who helped me get and stay sober, and I hope it helps you too. Obviously, the Amity Affliction has a huge place in the scene for mental health. A lot of their lyrics deal with alcohol, and I think both Joel and Aaron are both sober now after dealing with their own separate battles. By far, one of the biggest bands that has helped me. Anthony Green is one of my all-time favorite vocalists and songwriters. Anthony has dealt with his own personal battles with addiction. He's also a huge advocate in the scene for mental health and drug overdose medication. Not only has my wife Nikki been incredibly supportive of my sobriety, she actually got me into Anthony Green's solo work. We spent like the first 3 years of my sobriety just like digging into everything this guy's ever written or performed. If it wasn't for Anthony's music as a solo artist or in Circa Survive or Seosin, as well as just him as a human being, I probably wouldn't have made it this far in my sobriety. I can honestly say I couldn't have done it without this being the soundtrack to those years. A lot of people already know about Ronnie's past with drugs, his story with him going to prison and things like that, but a lot of people don't mention his sobriety now. How hard someone has to work for breaking that addiction and then coming back to being at like the peak or top of your game. He's also helped other artists along the way, like Max Green, for example, to get and stay sober. Because of his online personality, he often gets overlooked for this aspect of his life, but he's been one of the biggest influences on me over the years. The band Secret is a little bit smaller, and I don't even think that the members are like sober per se. They did lose a member early on in the iteration of the band, and they have a lot of lyrics that deal with mental health and alcohol abuse and things like that. Seeing other people's loss and experiences is a big theme in my own personal sobriety and like knowing what you have and not taking it for granted. Plus, they're just an amazing band. I've been a fan of Eminem since the beginning, and I've watched, the peaks and valleys of his drug abuse and sobriety. Some of his best music was probably made when he was high, but some of his best music was also made after he got sober. He's obviously an advocate for sobriety now, and he's just one of those people in my life that has always made an impact. It also just goes to show that you can literally be at your best in both aspects of that, but which would you prefer? The Devil Wears Prada is another one of those bands that I don't think their members are sober or anything like that, but they have a lot of songs that deal with being in a negative place, like when you're messed up. Broken is a great example of that, and probably Chemical. I've always leaned back on their songs in order to put me in a good mental headspace when I'm having like bad thoughts. Buddy from Senses Fail is famously sober. He talks about drinking water and like eating yogurt at his shows now, which is a far cry from the lyrics that we used to hear from Buddy. So happy to see where he's at in his sobriety, and he's been a huge influence on me for like 15 or more years now in that. I got the idea for my brand called Distilled Spirits from Hitchin' a Ride on the Nimrod album. Once again, I don't know if any of the members are Green Day or sober or anything like that, but it's just one of those things that's always stuck with me and the lyrics that they wrote about it. All right, just a couple more. I was talking earlier about how someone's loss can put things in perspective for you. And when Kyle passed from We Came as Romans, it hit me really hard. I think he passed away in the same year that I got sober, or maybe the next year. And like, I always look back on like what could have been if he was still here. Honestly, it gets me emotional to this day thinking about the band having to move on without him, and their lyrics and their songs will always have an impact on me because of those reasons. The same goes for Tyson from Scary Kids. I grew up in Arizona, seeing Scary Kids play live and listening to their music. And when Tyson passed away, a piece of me did too. Like, I just absolutely loved this band and loved these guys. And I know they're still playing music now, but it's not the same. A lot of these guys passing away at such a young age, like, really put things in perspective for me. Honestly, any of us could have been in the same position, and we're fortunate to be here now. And then finally, obviously, Bring Me the Horizon with songs like Can You Feel My Heart and Drown. I know that Ollie has had a tumultuous relationship with, alcohol and drugs as well. I think he's sober now too, but watching somebody change over the course of a couple decades and like how their life has been affected by those things, once again, it puts things in perspective for myself. He's struggled with a lot, but also overcome a lot of things. And that's the bigger picture right there, is seeing where they're at now, knowing what they've came from and what he's had to overcome in order to be where they're at now is just really impressive. Yeah, I didn't intend for this to be a 4-minute video, but I hope that some of these artists and some of these songs and bands like help you if that's part of the journey that you're looking on and taking this year. And also, I've been here and done this, so let me know how I can help you.